Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tommy Lee. I'm the VP of Sales for North America. First off, I want to thank everybody for setting aside their valuable time and understanding what new solutions we're going to be rolling out in 2024. A nice guest with me today is someone from our strategic distributor sales with us. His name is Chris Turcott. And as everybody knows, Fanvil is a channel-based company of which all of our products are stored, serviced, and provided by any types of service that you need through our distributor partners. And a very strategic partner we have is NTS Direct. He's going to be joining us today and talking about our solutions for 2024. With that said in mind, before I introduce him and have him come online, some housekeeping notes. If anybody who wants a soft copy of this presentation, feel free to go to your plugin, and should be an icon called Materials. You can click on Materials and download a soft copy of this presentation so you don't have to take down notes. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and contact either Chris or myself. With that said, if you have a question, feel free to put your questions in the question box. We're going to open up the questions at the end of the session, and I'll stay on as well as Chris will stay on for as long as needed to address those questions. Okay, with that stated, Chris, are you still there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I sure can.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Tommy.
No problem, Chris. Oh, you want to come online and introduce your slides or?
I didn't see the slides move yet.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oops, hang on just a second. There you go.
Perfect. Well, again, thanks for having me. We certainly appreciate everybody taking time out of their day. My name is Chris Turcott, VP of Sales and Marketing here at NTS Direct. And just wanted to go over a little bit of information about who NTS Direct is and why they're partners with Fanvil. NTS Direct brings 20 plus years of experience in innovative distribution and fulfillment services to the channel. Our services have been tailored to meet the needs of today's transformative and fast-paced channel marketplace. And as a leader in VoIP, networking, video conferencing, physical security, unified communications, and collaboration, NTS Direct enhances the traditional distribution model. Now, as a qualified NTS Direct reseller, our partners would enjoy competitive product discounts, flexible financing options, integrated API solutions, and also some product-specific marketing collateral coupled with real-time support. And our state-of-the-art facility boasts over 300,000 square feet of warehoused product and a fully staffed lab. And that's going to help with your provisioning and enable volume customization and additional provisioning services for telecom service providers, internet providers, managed service providers, even value-added resellers, integrators, and distributors of all sizes. So we really value our relationships and work hard to show you that value when it comes to providing all the tools you need to succeed. Move on to the next one, Tommy.
Yep.
So here's a list of the different services that we provide here at NTS. As business transformation continues to evolve in the telecom industry, NTS Direct has committed ourselves to providing customers with an enhanced experience throughout the buying process. Now, our staff is trained to connect and really empathize with our customers' needs, as well as provide knowledgeable and resourceful solutions. This is accomplished by implementing these value-added services, such as 3PL, reverse logistics, dedicated provisioning services, branding opportunities, device as a service, buyback programs, and much more. Now, our staff prides itself on its extensive knowledge built through product certifications such as Fanvil and serving as a strategic partner and human-centric trusted advisor. So feel free to reach out to any of our team members to discuss any of these services or the different levels of support we have, often, through some of our partners as well. We can go into the next one here. So the ITSP channel program, this came out, I believe it was Q2 of 2023. And it's really starting to catch fire. And this is an example of a channel program between Fanvil and their distributors that really benefit the service providers and MSPs of the world today. The ITSP program has extensive volume discounts on the V series phones, which is their newest line of phones. If you are in a position where you're buying 500 plus units per quarter, this program is for you. I've personally never seen the discounts that Fanvil actually provides for this program, and be as competitive as they are with any other manufacturer. They're phenomenal. They also have a 3-year extended warranty that comes on these devices, which is unheard of. They also give you the ability to brand the phone if needed. We have a couple of our larger customers that, customize these phones. They have their own part number. They have their own logo on the phone. They look fantastic. One of the cool things about this program as well is that the reseller or the service provider actually has the ability to generate MDF, which you can use to further promote your company using the Fanvil phones. And of course, with this program, it also gives you the ability to become certified with Fanvil so that you're able to provide your customers with better support. I would love to talk about this program in more detail. We've got a lot of slides to go through, but I encourage everybody on this call to reach out to NTS Direct to discuss this ITSP program. It is a winner. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Tommy.
Thank you for the introduction, Chris. For those who are familiar with Fanvil, the next two slides might end up being redundant, but for those who aren't new to Fanvil, I'm just going to go over just some brief introductions on it all. As I mentioned earlier, Fanvil is a channel-based company, and that's how we go ahead and reach out to all of our channels throughout the world. A little bit of background, Fanvil is a manufacturer that's been around for 21 years. We have 3 factories, 2 in China and 1 in Vietnam. And so there we spread out to really address many of the different government requirements of whether you have to manufacture in and out of specific regions to really certify your specific needs. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, we go ahead and service. We're a global marketeer. We're headquartered out in Shenzhen, China as well. I'm based here as well as we have also some local manufacturer tech support located in the Americas. So a big differentiator is that we actually bring not only commercial but technical support from the factory to your specific needs. One of the things besides Fanvil that we're bringing out is LINKVIL. LINKVIL is a subdivision of Fanvil, just like Bronco is to Ford. You know, we have a line that we're going to expand that I'll get into a little bit deeper that talks a lot about our wireless solutions. And since we're going to expand on the wireless solutions, we thought that we just might go ahead and provide a whole different brand name for that. But when you think of LINKVIL, you can associate that with their parent company, Fanvil, as well. So with that stated, let me just go ahead and go over, before I talk about our roadmap and what we're going to bring on in 2024, I thought I would just go over a quick pillars of which talks about the solutions that we do. Many of us know Fanvil by our phones, obviously here in the center part here. These phones actually comprises of really 2 different segments. One is our business phones that we see on the top row here. Coupling with the business phones, we also have a specific hospitality phone in line as well. And coupling with these phones, you know, I've always heard for many years that there are many people that are working in retirement home projects. One of the new products that I'll talk about a little bit more besides just business phones as well as hospitality phones, we came out with what the market calls as a big button phone. I think if I caught $1 for every single person who says, "Hey, do you have a phone with a bigger button for this community?" We've heard it enough that we decided to go ahead and build that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in later slides. Besides SIP phones, we also have SIP security industry products. What are those products? One of the things that is common amongst all of our solutions that we sell is that these are all SIP-based products. They're not analog, but as the market merges over into an IP-based technology, all of these endpoints are going to be between the technology behind the wall as well as the person. So in the security products, we have everything from intercoms, door access controllers, gate access controllers, everything from large screens, intercoms for indoor, outdoor usage, as well as we also have PA systems. And all of these things currently in legacy systems are tied into, sort of an old, analog based things that could be converted over to IP. We have that next step for you. So as you begin to merge your businesses over, we have the technologies to connect your endpoints for many different applications. Finally, we have LINKVIL, which is something I mentioned earlier. One of our first introductory line is our IP phones, and these IP phones are really Wi-Fi phones. And as I'll talk into a little bit, we're going to be stepping into newer technologies, but along with the Wi-Fi phones, we're actually going to go ahead and actually have both a commercial and industrial use and some very interesting applications on radios. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The great news is that we tie all of these SIP devices in, and we spend a lot of resources to go ahead and work with PBX cloud manufacturers as well as on-prem manufacturers to be on their provisioning services. And for those who don't, we actually have a device manager here that you can go ahead and use it. We provide this free of charge to all of our partners so that they can go ahead and provision these things out in the field. I don't want to spend too much time on here, but this is really outlines our V series, which is our latest products that we had talked about earlier, and is part of the ITSP program that Chris had mentioned a little bit earlier before. We also have our XU series, which is also a very popular series with these. And then also these are all coupled by lots of different phones that we coupled here for the hospitality market. So we understand that each different vertical has a lot of different requirements. So we kind of put together phones that meet those specifics as well. And we also have X and X series as well as that it also caters just as a general business phone for many different marketplaces. Coupling with that, we also have on top the audio video intercoms. So to the left here is really our outdoor units, and these really are built to sort of handle a lot of the industrialized type of environments out there. We have one with video, without video, one button, two buttons. This is just a short snapshot of the little different things that we have. When you go into more of a lobby or a commercial environment, we're talking about some indoor intercoms that have the less applications of the outer casing, and now we can go ahead and provide this type of technology for indoor commercial. And some of the new things that we're also introducing, I'll talk about is some of the products that we've adopted to really meet the medical community as well. Talking about this, we have video door phones, and we introduced 3 door phones last year that it provided a solid state, one button, several buttons to a full keypad. And one of the things that was missing and really addressing many of the commercial and residential environments is a display. So when you think about it, we came out with a core video access product, and what I'll show on our roadmap is an expansion of these lines that we're selling today. Everything that we're marking here is currently we're selling today. Audio and video paging product. This is our PA series. It's one of our most popular things that really adopts SIP environments into an existing PA announcements. If you want to use your existing amp, you can go ahead and use these things with Viking, Bogan, whatever type of amplifiers you use to really adopt an old analog speaker system onto a SIP device. Now we have indoor stations as well on your lower left-hand corner. And what this really is, it's really a station that focuses on video cameras. Have you noticed many of these products have cameras that that all comply to open standards. And you can really display who is at the door. So as opposed to having a phone on the wall, you could end up having these indoor stations in many different Linux as well as Android-based products to go ahead and really show to the end user who's out the door. And we have some with buttons and without buttons, depending on what your application is, to allow that person to come through the door, or you can use these as just monitoring devices. And you can use specific phones for PA announcements or control. We have console IP phones, which really have a gooseneck microphone, which really caters to paging and also being able to multiplex all of these different devices onto one system so that you can have a high-rise residential unit all being controlled by either a touch screen or a buttonized type of console so you can manage everything on one single phone. With LINKVIL Wireless, this is something that we came out with. We introduced an industrial product here for the 611W, which complies to IP67 dustproof and waterproofing. And then once we expand beyond that, we're now introducing the W610W, which now all of a sudden provides a commercialized, or should I say, a more price sensitive or for a Wi-Fi phone, which is something that we bring to the marketplace. Great advantage of a Wi-Fi phone is you don't need to put in a separate base station. And if you have a classic SSID with a password, you can just go ahead and log on and be able to bring all of these sessions with you. Very popular in the retail environment as well as restaurant environments where people are constantly moving around, taking people to tables and back and forth. One new thing I'm going to talk about is the ROIP gateway. What is this? And the ROIP gateway is really a gateway that opens up a SIP backdoor into the analog radios. And people are walking around, especially security, with these walkie-talkies and radios that have a range for miles. And now, in order to speak in that environment, people had to go ahead and buy another radio to talk within it, but it really excludes anybody with a SIP phone access to get security. And now what we've done is be able to establish a bidirectional communication between the SIP community as well as people with the radios. And I'll talk a little bit about this moving forward. Now let's go ahead and talk about the new products. So the new products, we've gone ahead and introduced a brand new model for the V63. I'll talk about that. The big button, which I've mentioned, and all of these units here are really what we consider something that we just beginning to roll out, because now that we're in the middle of 2024, these things are starting to hit the road. And when you go down below in the lower column, we have new indoor stations, but something that's new is coming out. We're also coming out with a real, what we consider a video conferencing kit. And this kit really brings in value because for many small companies out there that are really fiscally secure, conscious, because we have such high inflation rates with everything going up, people want to go ahead and establish a conferencing solution while spending the least amount and establishing what 90% of the people are looking for in a video conferencing solution. And then with door phones, we have solutions out there now that actually we've become expanded and be able to provide additional displays while maintaining all of the different features that we had before. So that's an overview. Now let's go ahead and dig into it. With the V series, we have the V63. Why did we come out with this phone? Because when we first came out with the 62 and 64, we went really baseline and just decided to put in a monochrome screen in it and say, this is our baseline phone for anyone that looks for a baseline unit. Now, granted, it may be only monochrome, but it has a GigE in a port, and it also has the capability of supporting 6-way audio conferencing. But the feedback we got was, you know what, is there any way that you could just upgrade the screen into a color? And that's what we did here. We decided to take out the monochrome screen, and we're still supporting this, and this is still qualified in many systems, but the 63 is really taking the old 62 baseline and now being able to add color. So now we have all of these different units that you can go ahead and entertain the specific projects that you go ahead and need. A big need is the X305 big button phone. As you notice, what we've done is we've really taken the baseline phone and be able to cater to the retirement community. What really makes this phone unique is not only just the big buttons in terms of keypad as well as function keys. With these function keys, you could actually do cutouts of your family or most important colleagues and pictures and things like that to put into the major ones. But along with the major help key, we've actually developed accessory buttons where you can actually wear around your neck, or you can go ahead and have it hanging on walls so that if you happen to be away from your phone, you can go ahead, if you fall on the floor and you can't get up, you can go ahead and push a batteryless necklace so that you can go ahead and transmit a frequency that will call for help. And so that if you happen to be in a retirement community, someone will come in to try and assist where you are, or you can dial a specific number and call for help. And hopefully at that point in time, you can get assistance if you happen to be not by the phone. Besides having big buttons, we also put in brailing so that if you happen to have a hard time looking in it from a visual standpoint, we've made to do this phone to cater to a lot of different environments. This is more of a idea of the phones that we have to help. These are the picture of some of the buttons that you can go and hang on your screen. Obviously, we have a nice color screen as well as some of the bigger function keys so that people could go ahead and really contact their most contacted people, whether it's family, colleagues, etc., moving forward. Just some of the specs. I'm not going to go over all of these things. This is meant to be a high level discussion, but one of the nice things is that this also supports an integrated Wi-Fi functionality as well. We realize not every place is completed with all the cabling that you need, and it also supports a GigE interface. So we have all of these things featured in, but it doesn't necessarily all of the feature sets of a business phone, but actually putting it so that we cater the interface to be friendly to a retirement environment. Again, the application scenario, you can kind of put all of these things together to really create the environment that you need. And we're sort of the endpoints that really interface not only from an intercom perspective, but also all the endpoints where you touch the end user. Some of the ideas of the console phone, this is an enhancement of the current A32i. We currently had an A32i, which we introduced at the beginning of this calendar year 23. And what we decided to do is to add on a camera. And with that added camera, we also made some enhancements with the handset to really allow you to, like a one-hand button pushing manufacturer, so that you can go ahead and really operate this like an announcement on a walkie-talkie with just a one push touch. And obviously, this has all of the different features that you can do, integrated with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, having some of the later Android 9.0 from a desk phone perspective, a large screen. And this really is the touchscreen version. We also have versions without the mic too, if you want to use a touchscreen reception phone. Obviously, this comes in two separate colors in case it's something that you're looking for. Bring it on. We also brought on integration with this commercial microphone that has integrated Wi-Fi. Some of the other phones that we had didn't have a Wi-Fi interface, but you can connect a PoE switch to the back. But what this one does is that you can connect a power interface to it, and now you can go ahead and use this on a Wi-Fi system to allow one-way communication across your Wi-Fi network. A little bit more of an expanded view that not only does it do an intercom with one button, but it also has connections so that you can put things like here where you can short circuit, interface a trigger, a relay, or you can have buttons where you can go ahead and push a much larger button and be able to use this as an alarm. So not only can it do audio, but you could also add on little external buttons so that you can go ahead and signal your network to do what you want to do with it. Again, just something for your background in terms of having its specification. For those people who may have showed up a little bit late, a soft version is available on your materials download. So a PDF version is available on your network if you have any questions about this. We've developed something similar like this, but more into a medical environment where we actually put in sort of a tail on this intercom and also added some additional function keys. And what this does is this not only allows for wall access, but this dongle could also hang bedside. So many people have the tilt beds on the side. You can go ahead and put that together and also be able to have a hard connected Ethernet interface. So along with all of the different wireless integration keys as well. And the idea here, it also supports some of the wireless keys that I talked about earlier. So not only will it support a wireless intercom here, but it also does these keys. Some people ask me what type of keys, and depending on what key you use, it's about 80 meters up to 200 meters indoor versus outdoor. So it really depends on the environment that you're working with, but it gives you sort of that range that you can work with, during the time frame. An expanded view right now to kind of tell you what the type of different keys mean. This is meant to be a high level idea to kind of show you what these different keys mean from red, yellow, or green, just to kind of show you what happens. Here, again, it's just a technical interface. I'm not meant to go through all the different interfaces, but these are what I call the distances I mentioned earlier. I get a lot of questions of how far the distance is with these remote keys. And these remote keys can go ahead and actually push in these type of keys so that you can be within some range and you don't have to be at there to really call for helping and services and things like that. Now we'll get into the I-66 and 67. So we've taken the baseline keypad. We will still maintain those keypads as a baseline product, but for those who need an expanded display, we actually have a display that you can go ahead and sort by first name, last name. And the great new thing is that we also add on facial recognition as well. So all of these capabilities are now put into an outdoor interface that complies to I-66 and I-67 ruggedized standards that really meet the outdoor ruggedness so that you can go ahead and have this indoors or outdoors depending on what your door access needs are. It supports video, and the great news about this video output is it all conforms to the H.264 video codec, which means that many of the phones out there, our desk phones as well as even our indoor stations that I showed, both comply to it. Some of the models on the upper end units actually support that, so you could have one phone to really read the input of all of these different door units, and they have relays to go ahead and read it. Here is just an idea on the sheets. I'm not going to go through all the ideas, but it does have an RFID reader, as well as all of the different pixel, as well as all of the ruggedized, you know, functions, and the supports in a working temperature from -40 to 70 degrees C. This is another different model as well. And now what you have here is we'll go ahead and actually put in facial recognition. You can go ahead and recognize people's faces. This is fantastic when you're just sort of showing up at the door. It will scan that person, recognize the face. If it happens to be a recognized face, the door will open and that person will go in. It fits into a lot of different environments if that's something you want to get into, but it also has an RFID key reader here so that you can go ahead and gain access to them. Here we decided to expand the indoor stations again, not only catering to just Android, but we expanded our Linux solutions as well. So depending on what type of application, obviously, if you don't have an Android, you can save yourself a few dollars by going to the Linux section, which gives you an idea of being able to go ahead and hard key some different keypads here that you can do. Or if you decide to have a specific Android application that you want to work with this, you can download the APK application and have it used on two different sizes of these Androids as well. All of these different things are coming in and serving as a great interface to what you're doing. This is just a matrix to kind of give you a good idea on the differences between the different sizes that we're introducing for 2024. Again, I'm not going to go through this, but it also supports all of the different video codecs as well as the high-end audio codecs on G722, along with even the low bandwidth Opus codec as well to handle the low bandwidth type of environments. So we sort of catered in, and we also have integrated Wi-Fi to all of these different units as well. So we made this try to be interfaceable to many different environments depending on what your connectivity situation is. Now let's talk into something really, really interesting. Here, the W712 gateway. This gateway now opens up a SIP environment into the radio community. Why is this really important? Because in order, not everybody, can spend $2,000 or $3,000 for a single radio to talk to it. But now what you can do is now you can open up a gateway between your SIP environment, and now you can have thousands of or hundreds of people in your office that will have immediate access to people on those radios in case they actually need that. This is just really a table that will allow you to go over. One of the things is that it will address all of the digital as well as analog radios that function between 400 to 470 megahertz. All the existing brands, you don't have to go out and buy a brand new radio. If your radio happens to fall within this should have no problem interfacing with that radio, as long as it's within this megahertz specification that it goes with. You could initiate a call. so that if you have that specific key, whether it's a SIP phone, intercom, or a console phone, you can go through the PBX, access this gateway, which is nothing more than an extension, and reach anybody with an analog, digital, or whatever SIP Wi-Fi phones that you might have here. Some of the nice phones that we have here that I showed on the W611, we have a push to talk button. You could also make that operate as well, so that you can go ahead and actually talk and have a one-way communication from our SIP phone to or an individual phone, or you can actually have a group of phones that you can organize on this gateway to allow group applications in case you have sort of an emergency broadcast system, and you can go two ways from the radio onto the SIP phone. As long as you can configure it on this gateway, specific extensions will have access to this thing. And now it really opens it up, because now when you think about it, you could have someone with a SIP phone that could talk to somebody miles away, whether it's a off airport, parking van or something. You can speak to that person if you have that right combo and have a dual connection just with that versus having just a closed in radio session. Some of our 610, we've taken the audio Wi-Fi phone and now expanded it to the 610. And one of the things that we're showing up eventually is, how come you don't come up with a deck phone? That's also coming up as well, but we didn't necessarily have it in time for this specific thing. But that's also coming down the line later on in the years. But we introduced this with the Wi-Fi phone up front. This is the commercial environment, and one of the nice things it has is you can go ahead and connect to 2.4 or 5 gigahertz capability. We also added in the one-touch DSS key. With this real key, you can touch any side of this, and you can have quick call buttons that will show up on the display here. And you can really call somebody with just 2 clicks by clicking the right or the left key, and you can scroll up or down depending on what soft key, and you can contact that person, literally bringing a desk phone that'll fit on the hip of your particular clothes that you're wearing. Again, these are all the different functions. I'm not going to go over all these different keys as well, but this is just for your reference that it really does have all of the features, the necessary standby, as well as the operating key that you can use this to spend all day talking on the phone, and you could just recharge it overnight for the next day. Some of the comparisons between the two, you can go ahead and talk here. The great news here, this one, the 10 that we added on the commercial environment, it's got a vibration alarm. I think in the future we might add some additional features here, but currently this is what we have when you want to do a comparison. The other difference here is that this one here is IP67. On some of the shows that we've done, we've actually put this model underneath a vase that's underwater. You could actually make a call with this thing submerged underwater. So it's really made for tight tolerances and drops. But this one, the commercial 610, would work for nearly all commercial environments, speaking for 9 hours and having long standby time in order for you to go ahead and do what you need to do. Again, this is just a commercial environment showing all the ways you can manufacture and put together all of these environments to really create an endpoint that really meets whatever interface that your office or your residential environment is seeking, or the medical environment if that's what you're looking for as well. Now, the last but not least is our LINKVIL video conferencing kit. This kit really consists of 3 different units. It contains the camera, the actual dongle, as well as the unit that fits in the back of the TV. The great news about this is that it incorporates a wireless technology, because the camera obviously fits here on top of the camera, as well as the controller, which actually has a magnet on it that you could fit on the back of this TV. You could put on the top or on the side of this particular TV, but there's a wireless connection between here as well as the people that are actually on the desk that you can do it, because in the old legacy conferencing systems, everybody had to move to the end of the table to be connected to the HDMI cable that allows you to connect to the screen. Now what you can do is actually move the speaker to where the user is and have a wireless connection between the actual conferencing table and the screen. So you not only have a clean room, you don't have to worry about having that duct tape on the floor, worrying about people tripping over it. And all 3 of these things really fit inside of a shoebox, which is a great unit. And it really does framing and everything else that you really need in a conferencing system. So whether you have one or a group of 6, it'll back off or home in on that one individual, depending on where they're sitting, to really give you that dynamic look and feel for a video conferencing solution. Obviously, there are several different things where you go around. This is the dongle that you can have with you, so you could bring your speaker wherever the speaker is with only two buttons. So once you connect it, you can run, Microsoft Teams, you can run Zoom, you can run whatever application you have, share it on the PC, and actually share the audio along with it without necessarily having to move to the end of the table to go ahead and share what your screen is. Obviously, the camera, this is really a high res camera that you could put right on top of the screen. It has AI auto framing, which allows you to really focus in on how many installations. And the great news is that this is one of the easy installation. We almost consider looking at this selling resale because, quite frankly, anybody who could put in a CD player would be able to go ahead and hook this up in their system with only two buttons to turn it on and off. This is just a receiver that you can connect to the back of the TV set, and you can really hide this in the back, which gives you all of these specified idea of connecting your system to the TV and vice versa. This is how it looks like, whether your laptop supports a USB-C connection, which is its default connectivity. But if you happen to have an HDMI connector, we also have adapters that come along with this video conferencing system to allow you to adapt this speaker system to whatever laptop that you might have. And this thing is far more mobile than having a hanging HDMI cable that's out there. Last but not least is just the instruction sheet, which is really so simple. It's really one, two, three in terms of hooking up the camera. And once you have these things done, you can go ahead and kind of put this together. We've put together a nice sampling program with our distribution channel, especially NTS Direct. You can call them out and say if you want a sample. I'm sure they can come up and talk to you about, providing, a trial, not a trial, but at least an NFR type of program with you so that you can go ahead and kick it around to see if this is something that meets your end needs. So having said that, you can go ahead and put whatever questions that you have on the question box if you have any further questions. I'll go ahead and take a look at this moving forward, and I'll work together with Chris here to see if there's any questions to answer on either end. One question that came up is, do you have any video intercoms that are compliant with elevators? Yeah, actually, we do have, you can work with our hard intercoms that you could put in an elevator, but better yet, what you can do is I suggest you put in a PA, one of those PA adapters that we have, either the PA2S or the PA3. Actually, you could work with the PA3 because with the PA3 would allow you to adopt your existing analog speaker that's already integrated into the elevator onto a SIP-based system. So that the idea here is that you could put that in the background inside the elevator so that you don't have to change the external face of it and use that as an interface to really allow it to do it. I'm not going to get into a technical session, but I suggest if you're doing an elevator, look at the PA3, which would be a great adapter to really adapt the audio system of your elevator into a PA system. What is the maximum character length on these H or V line keys? I don't know what the character length is on these keypads. We have different variances. I don't know what the top is. I suggest going to the product capability of it. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I guess for Steve, what I'll do is I'll take your name down, and you could send a quick question to either Chris or myself, and I'll be more than happy to sort of take a line count. But we have screens that go from a small screen model to a large screen model, and obviously for the i67 and 68, um, I could go ahead and make a count on what the characteristics are moving forward. Okay, and I'll get back to you on that, and we'll take it from there. Will one question, will the I-67 to 68 be WEGAN compliant? Yes, the answer is it's WEGAN, and as well as there's also a video compliant as well. So both of those units do comply with industry standards. That's the major difference between our access points and our old standard intercoms is that once you get into the I-67 and 68, those are all WEGAN as well as video standards compliant as well. Uh, how do we reset the W611W? That one I don't know off the top of my head. That was a technical call, but what I can do is you could send an email to support. Actually, you could send it to me, which is Tommy@fanvil.com. I'll be more than happy to investigate what is the technical specification for just resetting the W611W, and we can take it from there. Do you have zero touch provisioning? Yes, we do. There are really two factors. The basic one is we have a cloud solution called FTPS, which is the Fanvil Device Provisioning Server. And what that does is that once the unit powers up, it will actually go and fetch your specific MAC address and say, this belongs to ABC company, and that ABC company can be routed through their own provisioning service, and you can deploy it whatever configuration file you want to. The second one is that we also have a device manager as well, which you could also use our device management and really manage and deploy whatever devices that I've shown you today with it as well. So both of those things are very popular. They could be used in conjunction or separately from each other. So yes, we do have zero touch provisioning. Those are the questions that I have now, but I'll stick around for anything more. For those who need to go ahead and leave this thing, I want to thank you very much for your time. I'll stay on for another question or two if you want to have any further questions. But for those who stuck around, I want to thank you for your time. And that is it. Okay? Have a wonderful day and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Tommy.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, with no more questions, I'll conclude this session and take it from there. Again, thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.